Hi, my name's Cayleigh from createwithcayleigh.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a fun fall card. This card's actually really simple, but the way it opens makes it just quite a fun, unique card to give. Here I've used some bright colours. We've got Lemon Lime Twist, Berry Burst and Dapper Denim. For the next version of this card I thought I'd go more subtle. So I've got a piece of Pool Party, Wisteria Wonder and Pink Pirouette. The supplies I'm using today are the Celebration Time stamp set and matching thin lit dies. This is a great bundle for weddings, birthdays, anytime you're celebrating something special. This card in particular is kind of supposed to be a card for someone who's done something pretty awesome you want to celebrate. Maybe someone's passed an exam, or maybe they've just done a really great DIY project. So we're going to start with the card base. This is 6 inches by 6 inches. We've just scored at 2 inches. Now we're going to do the inside of the card. Here we need a piece of 6 inches, piece of card 6 inches by 5 inches, and we're going to score at 3 inches along the 6 inch side. So we're just going to score this piece of card in half. When you cut, if you ever notice kind of like a raised ridge, simply run your bone folder along the card. That'll flatten out any ridges and just mean it's perfect, ready to go. So fold that in half. Now let's do, and then this is simply our card, like that. But we're going to decorate it first. So we need to cut a piece of card for our card base. This needs to be 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and all we're going to do is adhere this down. For me, layers are the easiest way to make a card just look a little bit more finished, a little bit more professional. And as normal, I am using Tombow glue as my go-to adhesive because you get that few seconds of wiggle room, and when it's thick it is stuck for good. So I'm also going to put a white piece of card inside this. I am going to leave it completely blank, and this measures at 2 3/4 by, let's check, 5 inches. Oh, 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. And we're just going to stick that in there. This white panel is just there so that you can write a nice little message inside of the card. Now we could stick that down now, but I'm going to leave it for a second and then we're going to start the decorating. We are going to need a piece of card 2.5 by 4.5, and this is just going to be our inside, our outside panel. And I've given you the wrong measurements, I do apologise. The correct measurements are on the blog. So I'll just get this piece of scrap. And it needs to be 2 3/4 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. Apologies then, all of the measurements went straight out of my head. And there we go, that fits perfectly. We also need another piece of card for the front. This time we are going to do 1 3/4 by 5 3/4, and this piece just sits right there. So that's enough cutting, thank goodness, and let's start creating. So because this is a celebration, I am taking this word woohoo, and I am going to take my Wisteria Wonder ink and I'm going to stamp in a pattern all the way along the card. In a couple of months we'll be able to use our new stamping positioning tool. Unfortunately it's not available for everyone at the moment, so I've got one, and if you pre-ordered it you might be able to have one, but otherwise it's not available until later in the year. So I've decided that we're not going to use it. We're just going to go for good old blind luck and hope we stamp in the correct places. Now I always tell my guests at my classes that it doesn't have to be perfect, it's handmade, and that's Like, perfection is mass made in a factory, so we're all good. So just done the woohoo all the way down, and now I'm going to adhere this to the front. And then our card base is basically good to go. We just need to finish all of the decoration. So I'm going to leave that flat like that, so I need to put it on that side and then start decorating. So one of the things I've done is taken, I decided to use Blushing Bride rather than Pink Pirouette ink, simply because the pink here is just a little bit too light, so this will really be a nice contrast that we can get a really good clear image. I am going to take a aqua painter. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this ink, so I just need to squeeze the middle. I'm going to give it a harder squeeze. All this does is get the ink on the insides. And I'm going to pick up my pen, just now covered in ink, and I'm going to flick it. Now this is a really delicate background effect, but it's just to give a bit of texture and a bit of depth to the card. And then I'm going to have that flat. Now I use the die cuts in this set to create some of our design. In particular, I have used this tag background and the cake die. Now the tag background, I already cut it out to save the noise of the big shot, is perfect to make a tag, but in this instance we're going to cut away this section because we do not want it to be a tag, we just want it to be a nice background element. So I'm just going to cut all the way along there and get rid of that section. This then is going to be glued onto our front base. Now you can do this a few different ways. You can use one of our adhesive sheets, you can use a sponge with glue on it. I, for the time being, I'm just going to run little bits of glue along the edge. Now because we're layering this up, it doesn't need to be a perfect with adhesive all the way around, simply because we are going to be adding other types of adhesive which will help it stay stuck. So I'm just using my finger just to run it along so there's no big blobs of glue. I'm just going to stick that down in the middle. As I said, we will be covering up most of this image, so don't worry if it's not perfectly stuck. We're going to be sticking things on top. Okay, so I've got my pink pirouette layer of cake, and I'm going to take the sentiment Let's Eat Cake. I'm going to stamp this up in Wisteria Wonder. I was going to use Blushing Bride, but I think this one's going to be a better shape, better colour. And I've just realised I'm die cutting, and the die cutting image is bigger than I used, so let's put it in a nice open space. And now I'm just going to cut this out using the Big Shot, which is just off camera because it's a bit too heavy to pick up and move sometimes. So I'm just going to die cut this out. And there we go. So I've now got our die cut layer and our pink layer. I'm doing two just simply because sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a dimension. So with this I will just adhere the layers together, and I'm looking for just a teeny smidge, maybe a millimetre on one side, just to give it a little bit of dimension. There we go. Now what I did on this one is I used a bit of my aqua painter, and I used my Wink of Stella and went over the image and just kind of spread the colour just a little bit, just to make it a little bit more shabby chic. Also makes the cake really glittery because after all it is a celebration. So we've now got a glittery cake. I'm now going to take some of our new Baker's Twine with silver in it, and on the back of here we're just going to add some tear tape, and we're going to make some loops with our baker's twine. Now this is an effect that is so simple but adds a bit of dimension to a card and just makes it a little bit fancier. So I'm just going to run my hands along the string, stick it down and hoop it over 3 times. Now in crafting or anything artistic, 3 really is the magic number because it is the most aesthetically pleasing number, so I try to do things in 3s or odd numbers. And we're just going to cut off the excess. Just got my fingers caught a little bit. Just pull that out. There we go. And I'm going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals and adhere those onto the card, onto the topper. This is then going to get placed, just pull that out a little bit, on top of my background. And I'm going to take some sequins and some diamantes and lay them onto the card just to finish off this top layer. So on the other card I used Berry Burst because that was one of the main colours we've got. Today I'm going to use one of the lighter sequins. I'm going to use the Soft Sky sequins and I'm going to adhere 3 onto this design. So just put that there. These sequins are already have got glue dots on them, which makes them super easy to use. Anything for a time saver. And just going to pop 3 diamantes just on the card as well. Now I'm going to adhere this to the front, just making sure that I'm doing it the correct way. Again, just using Tombow. Stuff goes such a long way. And let's adhere that down. And we can put the back of this card on. And there we go. I'm just using the border to centre the card so I know I've got it in the right place. And there we go. That is our fun fold card in 2 different colourways. Now I'm a bright kind of person, so the brightest card is my favourite. Also, because the colours are so vibrant, it spreads easier with the pearls and the spritzing on the back shows up quite a lot more. But this one is a lot more delicate. This colourway would actually be really nice for maybe a wedding or even a baby's card, whereas this one is just nice and bright and good for any occasion. So let me know in the comments which is your favourite colourway. As I said, all of the measurements will be on the blog, as will a supply list. All the supplies are able to purchase through me if you live in the United Kingdom. Please do get in touch, I'd love to earn your custom. And if you like the video, please hit subscribe so that you'll get notified when I do more videos. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.